Greetings, I'm the Bulgarian Troglodyte. So this is the part 4 to my films in my collection that I need to rewatch video series. And this won't be the final part. There will be at least one more part to this series and possibly even more parts. We'll see how it goes. But let's get right into it. So we're gonna start with a contemporary Japanese film. It's called Departures. This did really well in the Academy Awards back then, even though who cares about that? The Academy knows nothing about cinema, which you can easily see from the films that they tend to pick as the winners. But anyway, I like this film a lot. I watched it like 7 years ago. I don't remember that much about it, but I'm looking forward to watching it again. And I know that my friend, a Nerdlist, who has a YouTube channel too, like he really loved this film. This is one of his favorites. I didn't like it quite as much as he does, but yeah, I liked it a lot. But looking forward to watching it again, and hopefully I like it even more on a rewatch. Then we have a huge classic from Clouseau. It's Le Diabolique. So this was of course something that I think Hitchcock wanted to direct, but then Clouseau ended up getting the job. But I have to say I like many Hitchcock films more than this Clouseau film, and I like Hitchcock in general more than Clouseau. But this is a good film. One of the first classic French films that I ever watched, and I mean one of the first French films I ever watched back in the day when I just became a cinephile, when I just started to watch films more seriously. So it has been a very long time since I watched it. Still remember some scenes about it, some scenes from it, but for the most part I've forgotten the film, so the rewatch will be probably quite fresh as I've forgotten most about it. But this is not one of my favorite films, at least currently, but it's something that I like. Yeah. This next one on the other hand is something that I really love, and this is quite underrated and underseen, unfortunately, but it's Jane Arden's The Other Side of the Underneath, a film that I try to often mention on my channel so that more people could get into it. So this is the BFI release that came out like many years ago already, I think. And there are a couple of different cuts here, but I'm talking about the work print version, which is a bit longer. So definitely watch that version if you have this Blu-ray and haven't watched it yet. Or if you want to watch the film in general. But this is about these women who have schizophrenia. And as it has been like 5 years since I watched it, I've forgotten much about it. And I've been meaning to rewatch it, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But I'm pretty confident that I'm still gonna love this film a lot, as it is definitely my type of film. But definitely give this hidden gem a chance if you can. The next one isn't a hidden gem, on the other hand. This is a very popular and acclaimed film. It's Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee, which is a film that I really love but haven't seen it in a long time. I recently watched Spike Lee's 25th Hour, which was another decent movie but doesn't hold a candle to this one, which I think is Spike Lee's best film out of the ones that I have seen, but I haven't seen that many. I've seen maybe like 5 films from him, but he has made quite a lot of films, so I need to watch more. I have Malcolm X ready to go. That's of course the other one that people really praise, but we'll see how I like that one. But this one I really love, and this film feels very timely still to this day. Yeah. Then another popular movie, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Been like a decade since I watched this, but I loved it a lot back then. But I don't know what I'm gonna think about it now. I mean, in terms of the subject matter, the plot, the themes, I think I will still enjoy it because it's all about love, and I'm all about love as well. So I think I might love it at least in that way, but it's of course a kind of a movie bro, kind of middle brow film, so I often have problems with those types of films, but this, as it has a great subject matter and something I can relate to and think about, I think I'm gonna still like this a lot, but I don't know if I'm gonna like it quite as much as I used to. Yeah. Then we have Jean-Luc Godard's Weekend, one of his most famous films from his 60s period. One of the most political ones. I mean, all of his films are very political, but this is kind of very in-your-face political and maybe a bit more obvious than some of the more complex works. I mean, this is complex enough as well, but it's got a bit more digestible than some of his crazier films, I think. But I haven't watched this in a while, but I like this a lot. It isn't like one of my absolute top tier favorite Godards, but it's one that I liked a lot, so I think on a rewatch I might like it even more. Yeah. Then we have the Poetic Trilogy by Mohsen Makhmalbaf. I may probably rewatch all of these, but especially I'm excited to rewatch Gabbe and The Silence. I remember the third film, The Gardener, wasn't quite as good as the other two here, and Gabbe is probably the best one. But I'm really looking forward to experiencing the great visuals again, because these are such beautiful looking movies, and I think that's the kind of main attraction in these films, and these are sadly quite underrated and underseen, so definitely give these a go, as well as other Mohsen Makhmalbaf films. Then we have Takeshi Kitano's Dolls, one of the first Kitano films I ever watched. Haven't watched it since. I've completely forgotten the plot and what happens in the movie, but I remember the aesthetic and some shots from the film, and the aesthetic is absolutely stunning. But back when I watched it, I liked the film but didn't love it, and it didn't become one of my favorite Kitanos, but it might now on a rewatch, so we'll see about that. Then we have Last Year in Marienbad by Alain Resnais, his most famous film, I guess, along with Hiroshima Mon Amour. And I watched this when I was a novice cinephile, and when I had a period where I really couldn't connect with French films, especially these difficult French films. But of course, a couple years after that, I really fell in love with the French New Wave and difficult French films that troglodytes would call pretentious films, but they of course aren't pretentious. But I love these types of films now, but I still haven't rewatched this. But I feel like when I rewatch it, it will become one of my favorites, especially because I absolutely love Hiroshima Mon Amour. That's one of my favorite films. It almost made my top 50 that I recently made. Then I love his film Muriel. That's another masterpiece. Then Je t'aime is an incredible film too. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching this again, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna blow me away now, although who knows, maybe I still don't love it. It's always possible. This one I just mentioned in my top 5 British directors video, but it's If by Lindsay Anderson starring Malcolm McDowell. This would be a great double bill with Clockwork Orange, so maybe I'm gonna do that double bill. Clockwork Orange, on the other hand, I have seen like I think 5 times, even once in the cinema, and even I went to the Kubrick exhibition in London Design Museum, and they had lots of the stuff from Clockwork Orange, so I have even experienced some of the crazy objects from that film in real life, so that was cool as well. But anyway, If is another crazy movie, maybe not quite as crazy as Clockwork Orange, but not too far from it. Especially in the end, it gets quite crazy and very anarchic. But love that film. I think it doesn't get quite as much hype as it should get. Then we have A Touch of Zen by King Hu. I've only seen a couple of King Hu films, this and Dragon Inn. This one I absolutely loved, and Dragon Inn I also liked a lot. And this was kind of a big event for me when I watched this, because it was the last film I had to watch from the 2012 Sight and Sound 250. And then when I watched it and finished this film, I completed the 2012 250 Sight and Sound list, so it was a great watch. And I'm really glad that I chose to have that, or this, as the final film to watch from that list, because I ended up loving this film, so it was a great kind of send-off for that list. Yeah. but I haven't watched it since, but I really need to experience this beautiful masterpiece again. Yeah. Then we have Hausu by Nobuhiko Obayashi, who is the latest addition to my favorite directors list. I've completely fallen in love with his films, but this was the first film from him that I watched, and this is almost for everybody the first film that they watch from him. And it always saddens me that most people only watch Hausu and then they don't watch Obayashi's other films, because I think he has made several films that are better than Hausu, even though Hausu is a legendary film, a fun film, beautiful in its goofy and weird aesthetic. Love the soundtrack here as well. But yeah, a great fun, crazy movie, but I think Obayashi has way more to offer than this film, so you should watch Miss Lonely, his motorbike, her island, for example, Chichuko's younger sister. I think those are my top 3 probably, but this one is a great one too. Yeah. God, it's so hot in here. There is a heat wave in Finland currently. Like the summer so far was so mild and relatively cold, colder than usual, but now it's the heat wave and I fucking hate it. I was just enjoying the colder summer than usual, but of course there always has to be a heat wave, and now I'm kind of sweating and feeling so uncomfortable because my apartment always gets so hot in the summer. Like my apartment was hot even when the weather was milder than usual in the summer. But anyway, that's a small tangent here. But if I look a bit off, it's because of the heat. Yeah. But anyway, we have Visconti's Rocco and His Brothers, my second favorite Visconti after Lenotti Bianchi. This is of course one of his big classic films, starring Alain Delon in a great role, which is a very different role for him because he's quite vulnerable in this film when he's usually that very cool and cold-blooded type of character, but here he's very vulnerable. Yeah. But a great film all about different types of masculinity. It's very gritty, quite dark, even like very hard to watch at moments, but a great movie, I think. Yeah. Then we have 2 Billy Wilder movies. First we have The Apartment in this very ugly standard Blu-ray. So this is a film that I watched a long time ago, really enjoyed it, still haven't watched it again for some reason. But of course one of the big Billy Wilder classics. Then we have another big Billy Wilder classic starring Kirk Douglas. It's Ace in the Hole, something that's a bit more serious and still very relevant to this day in many ways. Yeah, Kirk Douglas is incredible in this film. But I used to absolutely love Billy Wilder's films when I first got into them. But then throughout the years, as I've said many times, my love for classic Hollywood films like has lessened or has kind of gone away, you could say. So I'm kind of scared to watch many of the classic Hollywood films that I used to love, because I'm probably not gonna like them quite as much as I used to, and that has happened already with many films, like even with Billy Wilder's Double Indemnity. Used to absolutely love it, but then when I got back to it when I was older, I mean I still liked it a lot, I can tell it's a great movie, but didn't like it as much. And the same happened with Howard Hawks films like The Big Sleep and Bringing Up Baby. Again, still liked those films but didn't love them anymore. So that's kind of always a sad feeling when you realize that you don't love something as much as you used to. Yeah. But then to end the video, I have a couple of films from this great box set, one of my favorite box sets. So most films from this box set I have already watched more than once, but there are 2 that I have only seen once. My least favorites out of the box set, so Bay of Angels and Une Chambre en Ville, so I need to rewatch these 2. I remember liking both films, but they didn't really leave a lasting impression on me, and I've forgotten everything about Bay of Angels, and then I remember just a little bit about Une Chambre en Ville. Yeah. But then I of course love all the other films in this box set, like Ambrose of Cherbourg, my favorite film of all time, Young Girls of Rochefort, Absolutely love that film, although it took me a few viewings to fully fall in love with it, but now I'm fully in love with it. Then Donkey Skin and Lola I've loved since my first watch, but I've also rewatched them both. But I absolutely love this box set, and of course Cherbourg has now got then a 4K from Criterion as well, so that's cool. But anyway, that's it for part 4. Look out for part 5 and possibly part 6 in the near future. Thanks for watching, let me know what you think of these films and filmmakers. Sayonara and arigato gozaimashita.